Well, hello. Happy Tuesday, my all-time favorite day of the week from now on. I'm very excited to have you here. And oh my goodness, do I have an awesome guest for you to learn from today. I'm so excited. So first and foremost, I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday last week, whatever you're celebrating, whatever was going on, safe, healthy, and maybe wherever you live, you got to see a little bit of family, and that was all really great. But we have somebody just flat out awesome today. I am very excited to interview her, and her name is Bofta Yimam, and she is a dynamo, an entrepreneur, a newscaster, an Emmy Award winner. Hello, I could keep going and going, but you want to hear from her, not me. So first things first, I would love for her to tell you a little bit about, not only we're going to go into her accomplishments, but her journey is remarkable. She went from teenage depression to an incredible, groundbreaking newscaster for women and for Ethiopians both. So first thing I would love to do is if you would take a minute and just tell us a little bit about your journey. I think that everybody would benefit so much from hearing that.
Oh man, the journey. It's like, where do you start, right, Leanne? Well, first, thank you everyone for even jumping onto this Zoom or watching on the Facebook Live and dropping in your comments. So I appreciate it, and I'll definitely be checking it out. My name is Bofta Yimam, as she said, and it has been a journey, Leanne. So it's always interesting when it's like, where do you start, right? So one of the things that I always emphasize to people is that, it is truly a journey, and I feel blessed that I even came through this path, because it led me into so many beautiful things, led me to taste things like journalism and entrepreneurship and study the craft of writing and all of those beautiful things that, really truly shaped me to who I am today. I always tell people that, who I am right now, yes, I feel confident. Yes, I feel all these amazing things, and life is really good in many ways for me, and I'm truly blessed. But there were moments when I didn't feel so great. And, we lost our home a month before I turned 16 years old. And that really shaped so much of what would happen. I didn't know it then, to who I would become over the next several years at that young age. And as I went into college, and I went into a really deep moment of darkness. And it took a while to come out of that. And I was going through teenage depression. And so when you mentioned the journey, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, because, Leanne, oftentimes we only hear the glory moments. That's what I call them. And it's really not always an accurate reflection when we only hear the best things, right? We only hear the stories that just put us in this amazing light. And so, I went through that, and that helped me, and that I think ultimately helped me become not just a better person and more empathetic, but also a stronger journalist, because we are paying attention to what other people are going through. We're able to tell their stories on a different level and read and connect. And so many people go through mental health challenges, especially now we're way more open about talking about it. So I always mention that as part of my journey as much as I can, because I do think it's important for people to see me now and know that I'm definitely not perfect and I'm totally human. So, from there though, of course, went through college and all that, and studied abroad and did a few key things. And you had asked me this when we were chatting the first time we met, Leanne. So, some key things for anyone who's going through mental health, I'm big on just mentioning this, just paying attention to what you're putting in your body. Also paying attention to the environment you're in. You may need to step out of your environment. I think for me, studying abroad was probably the biggest thing I could have done for myself, taking out a loan and studying abroad, knowing I needed that. And that changed things for me because I was completely removed from my environment. And so it allowed me to soak things into a different way, with a different culture and a different light. And that's what I needed. I needed like a dramatic shift in perspective. So changing environment, paying attention to the foods you eat, and the impact, and just being self-aware of if you are sliding into anything, that you just ask for help, which I probably could have done a better job of looking back. But that's a piece of the journey, Leanne, and I'm guessing that's where you wanted me to start, but I just took a dive.
It is. And, one of the things that's so hard, especially, I know a lot of people do, and we will get to the broadcasting and how she's a news superstar in a minute, but a lot of people do really find themselves struggling with depression during this whole pandemic, the isolation, career changes, no career, all the things that are people going through. How did you create a vision to do what you're doing? Did you see something, read something, see somebody? What was it that clicked for you?
So from a career standpoint, I was, deep into, I wanted to be a correspondent, I wanted to be a broadcaster, and I was like on this trajectory. And if you're anything like me, you're super determined once you decide you're going to do anything. And so I was on that. And I took my first job. I applied for more than 100 TV stations, heard usually silence, and even considered going to grad school, started taking a class because I was like, I'm not getting a job. I need to do something. And then I decided to do another internship after college and ended up meeting an anchor woman who referred me to her first job in Georgia. So once there was an opening there, I actually connected with the news director before. I said, I'm going to be in Georgia. Would you mind if I stop by? I'm visiting friends. I had no friends in Georgia. And so I just wanted him to meet me so that when there was an opening, that I would be the one on the top of the stack. So it worked. I did that. And then 8 months later, there was a job opening and he called me. We already had chatted. So we already had met in person. I rented a car, flew out there, small, tiny town of 40,000. And I moved there. I just took the leap and I was like, I got the job. So I'm going, packed my Honda and bought my mattress at the local Walmart. So I just literally just put everything in my apartment that I had. And it was such an experience because I didn't know I was getting into totally. I didn't know I was going to be gone from the DC area for the next 12 years at the time. But I was just ready for the adventure and I was ready to take the leap. And so I feel like I took that same perseverance when I entered business. That's why I share my story, because I felt like if I could do that at that point in time and deal with 100 rejections and, silence from news directors around the country and all of those things, I'm like, I can do this business thing because I can take no, and so, and I love yeses, but I could take a lot of no's. And so that really was the start of my broadcast career, a tiny town. I made $15,000 a year. Okay. Still had student loans. So yeah, sister was broke. I could say that I was brizoke. I was so broke. So it's just hilarious looking back because I'm like, wow, somehow I pulled things together. But I stayed for about a year and a half, and I was already applying for jobs like within 6 months because I had to make more. Yeah, I had to. And so I just kept, and then I got a job at the local CBS affiliate later, and then, kept moving up. And I moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I worked at all these different TV affiliates. And then it hit me, and I had this gut feeling that I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to jump into entrepreneurship, but I didn't know exactly what. I didn't know how that would look like, and I couldn't decide. Like so many of us were just, hey, I want to do something different, but I don't know what that is. And so I sat with it for a while because I was in it now. Finally, it was making more than $20,000 a year. I'm like, man, I got to stay here. Yeah. I'm like, leave now. Like now that you've made it. Right. So really, truly, when I was doing my best, I walked away and I just was like, you know what? I have to try this entrepreneurship thing or it's going to eat at me. And I had seen a woman who was speaking and coaching. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be so cool. I see myself on stages, but I'm like, but I don't know what I'm going to say, but I see myself there. I see myself having higher impact and traveling the world. I'm a big traveler. I love to travel. So, I just felt, Leanne, and like so many, you can't logically say this makes sense, but your gut tells you this is the time. And so my contract was up. They asked me to resign. I already had resigned once. I was like, no, this is the time. That I'm going to take the leap. And at the same time, my now husband, but my then boyfriend was in Maryland. My dad, we found out, and this is the way life works, right? My dad was going through cancer, pancreatic at the time. And we found out that he was terminal the same month my contract was up. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back home. I hadn't been home, like lived in the state for more than a decade. So go back home, help care for my dad as he transitions, because we knew that was happening at that point, help him and move full-time into my business. I'd been doing it like real part-time. And so that's what I did and didn't look back really. And eventually started, I freelance here and there with CBS National even now, but primarily my business, helping other entrepreneurs, crafting their story, extracting the best parts with their message and their platform, and helping them really speak fully online and on stages with their stories, so they can have impact and they can have that income they desire and the visibility that they desire. So helping them really play bigger. And so, created programs just like many of us, and loving it, and feeling very empowered about the decision. So it's probably a long answer to your question.
Oh, fabulous answer. And first and foremost, I'm very sorry for your loss of your dad. I've lost my dad years ago too, and it's just
Hard.
It's really hard. It is a really tough thing to go through. On the happier side, congratulations on being newlywed. And I know you are so awesome because you're leaving on your honeymoon tomorrow and you squeezed in with us. So I appreciate that. One of the things that I really thought was amazing too is that you were the first Ethiopian American newscaster to win an Emmy award, which I love because there's nothing better than a woman breaking barriers in my world. So, I know that there are women out there that may be trying to break barriers culturally. They may be trying to break them just in their industry. Maybe they're in an industry that's male dominated, et cetera. What words of wisdom or advice would you have for someone who has a vision, but they are right now the only one who is pursuing it and creating that opportunity?
Yeah. It's interesting you say the only one, because I think of like, who else in my family was a speaker, a coach, a journalist, like doing all these, things. And for everyone who's probably in this group, you're probably doing something different than a lot of people, if not, like you said, the only one. And when I think about this question, which is really a good one, I think one thing that we always hear, like, know what you want, know what you desire, go after what you desire. But the other flip side of it that I'm going to say tonight is also to be flexible, be okay with what you wanted for maybe a long time, be okay if your vision has changed. I think sometimes we're still stuck to our old self, like what's the old self desired and wanted. We're still in that, but yet we've grown. And so we actually want more. So I actually would ask people to be flexible, or encourage, I should say, rather than ask, but encourage you to be flexible and adaptable, that like maybe what you desire is actually something bigger, and what you've been gunning for doesn't really meet you anymore. You've grown, you've transformed, you had an experience, you had a different career path in mind. So I actually would say be open. Be open to think bigger about what's possible, because if you stay married to that first version and never look back and say, wait, do I still want that anymore? You could end up going for something, trying to fight for something you don't even want. It doesn't fit with your life or your work-life balance or whatever it is you're trying to do. Does that make sense?
I think the journeys change people. So that would make a ton of sense that as you evolve in your journey, your destination might move too. That could really happen.
Exactly. And so in that same vein, I would say if your vision is changing, or you're seeing things different, or you're evolving because you've done so much personal growth, then I would say when you do want to break barriers, be really excellent at the skill. Like whatever the core skill is in your industry, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, be excellent at whatever it is you're promising you can do. It's very hard to ignore excellence. It is very hard to ignore someone.
Excellence. I got to remember that quote. That was
I need to take a picture of that or something, right?
So
create a meme.
One of the things I really was excited to have you share with the group is a couple weeks ago, we had Susie Zaleski on here. She is a branding queen when it comes to the visual part. She helps people with logos. She helps people with their website, their social media, creating a brand that communicates to people what that person or that company represents, creating consistency visually across all the different things. But you, my dear, are the queen of verbal branding. That's what I'm naming that.
I love it. I love that too. I saw that and I was like, ooh, I might run with
verbal branding. Because if all that stuff is aligned and what comes out of your mouth is not compelling or consistent with it, then there is, a disconnect. So I would love if you could take a minute, please, and talk about the importance of having a story, the importance of being able to have verbal branding to match whatever you're up to with your business or your own journey.
Yeah, thank you. So I think there's a place for logos, and there's a place for the colors, and there's a place for the visuals. But if someone were to ask me, what's the thing that's going to take you from like here to here, the biggest leap, it's what you're saying, how you're saying it, and how consistent you are with your message. So a lot of times we hear in social media, like, find your voice, find your voice. I tell people, I'm so not here to help you find your voice. You know your voice, you know your accent, love your accent, like fall in love with your voice. You know, whatever it is. Some people are like, I sound like too much like I'm from New England. I sound too Southern. Hey, love that. That's who you are. Like, own that, right? Mm-hmm. Now that we move through that, right? It's like, okay, own whatever it is, however you sound, however you write, get better at whatever skill you want, if it's writing, but know the story that you're trying to share with the masses. So a lot of times people don't, Leanne, I find, take a step back to cultivate the story. They just start talking. They never sit back and just say, like, what is the story? And it's true, everyone has a story, but not everyone knows how to extract the best pieces. And that requires you getting quiet and actually going through, I believe, a few exercises or prompts to help you actually see, what is it that attracts people to me? What are the layers of my story that have stayed with me throughout? So I'd say, like, a theme of my story is always persistence. It's the same thing that I was when I was trying to start in journalism, the same thing that I was when I was trying to start a business, both from scratch, both, going off of, whatever small network I had, and the persistence, because I knew that if I could just keep going and then have some strategy, it would work in time.
Yeah.
So people have to think back, like, and actually be proud of their PowerPoint of their journey, like those moments. And so I tell people, if anyone is watching this, I say, start to think about transformational moments. So for me, teenage depression was a huge transformational moment. I was never the same after. I was never the same. And I'm very grateful I went through that, because I don't think I would be as empathetic as a person. It hit to the core. I know what somebody, when they're like, I'm going through it, I'm like, oh, I can feel, what you're going through on a different level than if I'd never gone through it. So I feel like it's part of who I am forever. Right. And so I'm grateful for that experience, but that was definitely a transformational moment for me. And then having to transition in high school to a different home, it was just so many things that were unstable. And so what is it in business that people say, get uncomfortable with it being rocky, like get uncomfortable with it being not too comfortable? Well, guess what? That was easy for me, because I already knew I'd been unstable. I'd always done things on my own, first car, first everything. So those are blessings if you can look at it that way. But it's very hard if you never sit down and actually think about, your own story. And what are some of those pieces? Does that make sense?
Yeah. It does. It makes a lot of sense. And, I think the bumps, the bruises, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, that's where you learn. That's where you build character. When things are sailing along, it's great and you accomplish stuff, but, how does that make you better? And how do you make other people better? How do you pass on your lessons to people? So in my journey, I just figured the more beat up I got along the way, more people I'd help later. That was kind of my theory, or at least
I like that. I like that. I like that. And, Steve Jobs once did, I don't remember if it was like a keynote or something, where he talks about seeing the dots of your journey and then how they connect, and he connected them. And he's like, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have come up with this on the Apple keyboard. And if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have. And I thought that's exactly it. Like, we all need to just think about how we're connecting the dots, because I wouldn't be this person if I hadn't gone through those other things. And just the connecting of it, I think, is extremely, extremely powerful. And I, just like you, I talk about it on a stage, that you have to have confidence to do anything, especially in business, or if you're trying to rock a board meeting, you have to have confidence. And so I believe by extracting the story pieces and elements, you're giving yourself confidence, because you're looking back and you're thinking, oh, I was able to do that, so I could do this. And if you never take a moment and you're not dealing with that full confidence, you can end up playing smaller than you are.
It's so funny, because the power of your story is why I was dying to have you on here. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like, because I was like, okay, I saw your story. I'm like, that's somebody that, I think everybody can learn from. So what's fascinating is that if people can get their story, it will open doors for them. It will attract clients for them. It will create opportunity for them. It will set them apart from their competition. And I know that you have taken your wisdom, your talent, your experience, all the crazy things you've done internationally, and, you know, crafted that into a story that's made you really powerful. But you now own a business,
Yeah.
and you help other people to do that. So can you talk about that? Because I've met so many people traveling the world. I have never met somebody who does exactly what you do, this whole little verbal branding coaching thing you got going on. So.
Thank you. And I know you know a lot of people, so I humbly say thank you.
I humbly am excited to learn from you today. So great, please, if you would share that.
Absolutely. So in that same vein, you know, I work with a lot of coaches, authors, executives, whether they're trying to win the room for the presentation, whether they're trying to speak the next keynote on a stage and get out there and speak their voice. Because I tell people how I started my business is the same way I try to tell people, the more you can speak about your message with confidence and your story with confidence, it will help you get into rooms you never thought you could get into, truly. So, and it will give you the impact and potentially the fulfillment of just saying like, hey, I went through this and I want to help others as well. And that's a lot of people that I work with are mission driven, they're mission oriented. And so what I tell people is, if you're new in business, so let's say you're the new person in business and you're thinking, I don't have a network, I don't have social media going, I don't have anything. One of the best things you can do is start to say, where can I speak where my audience is? Get in the rooms, whether it's online, and guess what? Online conferences are going to probably continue to happen into 2021. But you want to get into those spaces where your people are, where the people who you want to offer your services or product to. And the more you can cultivate and extract why your story, as you said earlier, it helps you stand out from the pack, your niche. Because look, there's a lot of broadcasters out there, but I'm on here. Why? Because you said, you know, you're attracted to the story. The same thing goes for other people who are looking to get out there more, to be more visible. So I talk about, and what I really coach people with, and I wish I had my pen and paper for my chicken scratch, but but I really help people with a 360 strategy. How you're showing up online with your message and your story helps you land on stages when stages open back up. How you are on a stage, people want to connect with you back where? Online. So there's no longer just like this linear path. They want to know who you are online is who you're going to be on stage, and vice versa. So when event organizers are looking, they're looking for people's story and they're looking for their expertise. And they're looking for, if you don't have the expertise, what are your experiences that lend credibility to the story? So it's really important that you start to think about, what's my special sauce? If I could talk about anything, and this is, I'm talking to everyone in your group, if I could talk about anything, what would it be? Where do I feel most powerful? And what is it about my story that I'm not sharing that probably would attract people that I would want to give value to? And so in my program, we walk through those steps of how to be more visible. Boom, I'm big on visibility. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll know I'm about visibility. And I believe that that's the gateway to so many opportunities, and not just clients, but impact, but connections, networking with people who you just don't know. I was telling you, Leanne, within the first 6 or 7 months of my business, the first couple months, I was literally in a room in the back of a hospice sending emails, because I said, when my dad passes, I'm going to need to like be working full time and like get out there, because I haven't been working and rent is still due. So I'm like, I'm out there like typing away. And, you know, those conferences that said yes later on were all from what I did in the back of that hospice. And so I was in Miami within 3 months of that. And then I was on LinkedIn and somebody messaged me and said, hey, let's hop on a call. So I wasn't screening anyone back then because I just needed to take calls with anyone. So I was like, okay, great. I'll hop on a call with anyone. And so this is now probably 2 months after my dad passes. I'm creating a banner for a different event. And the reason why I love this story is because I do believe in the magical thinking as much as I do in strategy. And this huge banner for this event. And, I didn't have a lot of like spend available. So I was like, man, what titles do I put? I want to say international speaker because that's what I want to be, but I'm not that yet. So would I be lying to myself? And I really want to do that, but I'm going in my head. And a friend of mine was like, look, just put it on there. You're going to have it for a couple of years. So I was like, you know what? That's what I want to be. So that's what I'm going to do. Do you know, within like 2 months, that LinkedIn message that I just referred to was actually a call to speak in London. And I was in London by December. Dad passed in May, London by December. I mean, you just can't. those are things where I think like you have to put it out there that that's what you desire and what you're looking for, and do the work behind it. But then there's some magical thinking too. So, I mean, for me, it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both.
Spoke it into existence and threw it out in the universe, and
and
then told the universe, okay, let's go, let's deliver.
I was like, I need to hustle. I need to be sending these emails out. So I was like a repeat emailer. Like I might probably send it out like 2 or 3 times because I wanted to get to places. So I was just emailing conference organizers. But that is how I actually, boots on the ground is how I learned what's most effective in the outreach, because I did it myself. So everything I tell people to do in my mastermind and my program is because I'm like, nope, I've done it myself. You have to craft a few pieces of your story into your bio along with your expertise. You have to know which conferences you're going for and why you're going for them, and making sure that you do your best to stand out from the pack. And you have to expect that they're going to come back to your social media pages and say, is this person really who they are? Because we want to know, as the event organizers will say, I want to know that I'm bringing somebody on who's legit, because their reputation's on the line. So you can no longer just do one thing anymore. You have to be like a powerhouse, to see yourself as a powerhouse. And I love helping people just see that part of them and help them literally craft their story. I mean, they come into my program, they walk out with a signature talk, with understanding visibility, messaging. And if they want to create income through it, we jam on how to do that. So, so I'm excited, for the transformation. That's what I tell people, like, come in and
you still do news here and there as well, correct? You do all of that.
Right. I was just on CBS Monday, so I still pop on a TV screen here and there. And that's because I like doing it. And for me, I will probably always be doing that in some form. And right now it works. I get to say when I'm available, when I'm not, and I'm able to balance it all. There will probably be a time when I say no, but right now I'm like, I can still do it, and I still enjoy it. So.
Well, it's funny because the time always goes by so fast on Tuesday. That's the only thing I don't like about this. It's like,
I know. I didn't even check your group for comments, but I don't know.
I know. But we were just talking about speaking things into existence. So, you're a newscaster. You have this crazy, wild business. You speak around the world. You won an Emmy. You just got married. You're going on your honeymoon tomorrow. But I quickly know from you that is just the beginning. So,
thank you.
In existence, something that you want to do either personally or a goal maybe you have to impact other people. Like, what is next for you with all? Because you're young, you're under 40. I know that. So
I am under 40, but above 30.
We'll just leave it at that. So that's a lot to have accomplished in your 30s. And I'm not gonna, and whether you're 31 or 39, you're in your 30s, let me just tell you.
Holding on to my 30s, yes.
I just parked there. I like to say I'm in my 30s, but we all know that ain't true. But what is next for you? You are the verbal woman. You are the speak it into existence. Where do you see yourself going? I'm just fascinated by your journey so far.
So I have I know this is going to sound crazy to some people, but I have vision sometimes. And so this is the first time I'm verbalizing this vision to people I don't know. I think I've told 2 people I know, and that includes my now husband. So, it's almost crazy to speak it, but I believe in the next, probably not in 2021 because of COVID, but maybe in 2022 or 2023, I do have a vision of holding a conference in Ethiopia for women who are in business in Ethiopia. And I want to make it impactful and rich and maybe workshop driven a little bit here and there, but a 1-day or a 2-day conference that helps empower those who are in business. Because I do believe now more than ever that business is the gateway to out of a lot of things. Debt, it's out of, it's a gateway to ideas. It's a gateway to giving more. I've probably given definitely more as an entrepreneur than ever, because I just felt empowered, and that I would be able to, different from a salary, I had abundance mindset. I just felt like there's no limit to what could happen in 1 month to the next. Whereas a salary, you always know what you're getting, and that's it. And so it's different. And so I say that, I want to spread, there's a lot of great female entrepreneurs there, and I want to do a conference specific to them And how it will work out, I don't know yet. But I am verbalizing it here. So thank you, Leanne, for making my stomach have some butterflies to say it. But
you're alive. You know
but I do know I'm alive. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know how yet, but I'll pray for some angel gatekeepers to like open the doors. But I do believe it's definitely possible, especially when COVID's over. And I just think it would be really powerful and unforgettable. And I just to manifest that and to give in a different way, and then not have it be not have any like real attachment to it, you know, like, oh, if 20 people come or 400 come, like, I'm just gonna do it because I said I would do this in the world in my time on this earth, and that's it. So
listen, I get it. And it's funny because I've always wanted to do something like this and just really create a community for women. That's been kind of my whole story, is always about trying to break barriers for women, empower women, do anything for women. And I was like, I got to do this. I really want to do this. And, you know, then it all kind of came out of COVID. And when I first started, I was like, well, hopefully some people show up because I'm really excited.
I know. It's kind of like, I said I'd do this, but am I really doing it? And it's like,
okay, I don't know if 20 people will come or 400 will come. I'm like, yeah, that's the way it is. But, you know, you got to take chances.
Yeah.
And you are really breaking barriers for women in a lot of ways. And it's awesome. And for you to do it over in Ethiopia would be just so powerful. There's not a doubt in my mind that you will do it. I don't know how it'll happen. You don't know how it'll happen.
No.
We both know it's going to happen.
I need to start working on it now, I think, for like 2022. You know, it's a different game. You know, it's a different game. So I got to figure it out. But you know, what inspired me to even do it was I went to a conference there as a speaker last year. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to be able to host this for women? And then I just put it in my mind, and I was on the plane and I couldn't sleep because I had all these ideas running in my head. And I was looking in the back of the magazines for like, oh, maybe they'll sponsor it, you know, and I'm looking at the sponsors for that event and thinking, oh, maybe they'll sponsor my event because they sponsor conferences, you know? And so I kept that like magazine handy. I'm like, they're going to be my target. You know, I'm going to see if they'll sponsor women, you know, and could not sleep. That idea was just planted. You ever had an idea planted so bad that you couldn't sleep?
Yeah. It's inspirational insomnia when you're so excited about something.
You need to coin that one. I like that.
I'm going to coin your earlier. Yeah. That one. I'll trade you.
Okay, great. Fair. But I thank you for even, you know, helping me verbalize that, because sometimes, you know, you're like, oh yeah, I did say I would do that. So, you know, COVID put some things on the side, but, you know, put other things in the light. And so I think it's one of those years, 2020, we're never gonna forget it. And hopefully we come out of it stronger, mentally, physically, hopefully. And if we're not, we just are aware as we go into the new year, and just try and do better. That's it. So.
Well, you know, I think the world will never be the same. You know, hopefully the vaccine and all that stuff will happen, but just the world has changed. The way people has changed. The way people function at home has changed. The way corporations run, everything's different. And I can't imagine it going all the way back to where it is. So, you know, if we were here and went here, somewhere in this place is, you know, where it's all going to end up, and that remains to be seen. But I know we'll be following you on the news as you tell us all about it.
I know. I do like jump into different spaces. I'm like, oh yeah, you're in this space now. So it's been a blessing, and I feel, you know, truly blessed. I repeat that to myself, like, man, you know, grateful to be alive and blessed no matter what's happening, because there's so much going around us. And I do think we just have to remember, like you said, stomach, butterflies in your stomach. Okay, you're alive, you know, and it's true. And so I'm grateful to be in front of this group and just to be able to jam with you like this. You know, I love this.
I'm so excited. And what we do is we leave the interview in the feed, because some people are getting off work in different time zones and all that. We even got people in Australia in here. We got all kinds of stuff going on. So we leave it in the feed. Hey, from down under. But we leave it in the feed so people can watch it when it's convenient if they're not able to tune in live. And I know, you know, some people will really enjoy that. They may want to comment, but there may be an aspiring speaker or someone who wants to be on stage or do news broadcasting. And I know you are in the group. So if they want to learn more, is it okay for them to reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. The best thing would be if you want to speak with me directly one-to-one, just shoot me a DM. Either myself or a team member will definitely get back to you. And I have a Facebook group where I actually give free trainings and a lot of free value if they're interested in that. It's called Speak and Influence. Really easy. Speak and Influence Facebook group, and you can jam in there. And I always say it's good to network too. So you can network with other people, other entrepreneurs in there. Talk about what you're looking to do in 2021. And usually there's somebody there that's in your same boat. So I always say it's good to network even online. So either one, if you'd like to speak with me one-to-one, just DM and we'll set you up and figure it all out. So it's easy.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for your wisdom, your story, your experience, and thank you for squeezing us in when you should be packing for the honeymoon you're leaving on tomorrow. And
I already got my nails done. I was like, I'm getting my nails done for the honeymoon.
In my hands. There's no manicures going on where I live.
I know. I masked up though, for anyone who's wondering, I masked up. They have this whole shield and everything, but I was like, I'm going on the honeymoon. I want good nails, so.
Oh, well, I hope you and your brand new husband have an amazing trip. And, who knows, we have a speaker here every Tuesday at 5. Maybe one of them will connect with you and something will happen with your Ethiopian conference. You never know the way things go in life.
You never know. If anyone, I always say at the end of these, if anyone's ever looking for a speaker for their event or their conference, I'm happy to send you my reel and all my information, and we can certainly connect further on that. If you're looking for a workshop facilitator, I do a variety of topics. So I know a lot of professional women are part of organizations, and they're always looking for speakers who can jam. So happy to do it if that's something that anybody in your group is looking for. So I usually add that tidbit at the end.
No, I've watched it. It's funny, your accomplishment list would have taken up 10 minutes of this interview. So I was like, okay, here's the highlight. She's, Emmy and this and that. I'm like, okay, but let's talk. But you have, and I've seen some of your speaking stuff, some of the reel and some of the things you have, and you're really talented. And just thank you so much. Have an awesome honeymoon. Thank you for your time. And hopefully we'll see you back in here on some of the Tuesdays when you get back from nails and the, fun of your trip and all that good stuff.
I know. First time traveling in months, right? So, so super excited. Thank you again. Thank you to everyone in this group.
So much. All right, guys. Everybody have a great Tuesday. Take care.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.